It says Mercury retrograde is just an awful time. That's not true. And I'm going to equip you with some knowledge that helps you understand more about what it even is, and then you can make that decision for yourself if it's a bad or a good thing. I personally don't look at Mercury retrograde as a bad thing, and I don't want to persuade you to change your beliefs if that's the case, but I find that many people have this common misconception that Mercury retrograde is a bad time simply because exes could be coming back or travel plans could be canceled or whatever bullshit you've heard. Okay, welcome back to another video. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. My name is Cheyenne. I'm the face behind and founder of Soulful Soothe. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for all the love that you show me on a regular, consistent basis. I truly appreciate it. Now, let's get into today's video. As you can see, I have my notes right here. Baby is back to back. We got a lot to talk about. So as the title suggests, we'll be talking about this Mercury retrograde. Mercury will be retrograde from September 9th until October 2nd. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what is Mercury retrograde and retrograde in general. What does that mean? That's the first thing. Then I'll talk about some tips that I personally recommend for getting through really any retrograde, because Mercury retrograde isn't the only planet retrograde that affects us humans here on Earth. And then I'm going to talk about some transits. I pulled the charts I tried to do like every 4 to 5 days. I will put like screenshots of the charts that I'm referring to and the corresponding dates so that you know and you can see and learn with me more about astrology, because I believe that sharing is caring. And as my mom used to always say, each one teach one, each one reach one. So on this channel, as I learn more information, as more information becomes readily available to me, I'll make it readily available to you. So, because I just really don't want you to depend on me to tell you about what's going on in the cosmos. I want you to feel empowered in your knowledge about astrology. So I'll go over transits that I just eyeballing the charts really quick could see could be challenging or could bring some ease and flow. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. Psych, just kidding. Let's talk about the sponsor of today's video. The sponsor of today's video is Astoria Activewear. I've been wearing their workout clothes for years, and I've definitely seen the growth, the progression over the years. This is from their latest collection. It's so buttery soft, it's smooth, it's got a flattering silhouette, and look at that coochie print. It's like not even existent. So head to the description box for a coupon code to get money off on your order. Thanks. All right, moon babes, now let's get into the video. First thing I want to cover is what the hell is Mercury retrograde? Especially if you are someone who's fairly new to astrology. I'm sure that you've seen stuff all over the internet about, oh fuck, Mercury's in retrograde again. Like this dreaded time in the astrology woo-woo reader community that basically just says Mercury retrograde is just an awful time. That's not true. And I'm going to equip you with some knowledge that helps you understand more about what it even is, and then you can make that decision for yourself if it's a bad or a good thing. I personally don't look at Mercury retrograde as a bad thing, and I don't want to persuade you to change your beliefs if that's the case, but I find that many people have this common misconception that Mercury retrograde is a bad time simply because exes could be coming back or travel plans could be canceled or whatever bullshit you've heard. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about Mercury as a planet. Mercury as a planet is the ruler of both Gemini and Virgo energy. It rules communication, travel, technology. So that's why you hear all these scare tactics about things in those areas going wrong. Retrograde, the word retrograde literally means backward movement. However, to the naked eye, it appears that the planets move backwards when they're in a retrograde. However, that's not true. Scientifically, what's actually happening is the planet is slowing down. And I want to emphasize that because I personally believe that if you use this time, use the energy of the transit of Mercury retrograde, you can actually see positive aspects in your life instead of the negative ones. You want to work with the energy and not against it. That's usually when we see the misalignment, I guess is the best word to describe what happens to a lot of people when they're just like so frustrated when Mercury goes retrograde and they're just like, or any transit that, you're feeling like, oh my God, I really don't like this transit. Now, that's not to say that transits can't be hard, but what I am saying is that if you work with the energy, so if you look at what the planets are doing and you accept that information instead of trying to push your own agenda in spite of what the planets are doing, then you'll see a little bit more flow. I hope that clears up some misconception and clarifies things a little bit better. Now we're going to talk about, I have 6 tips here for how to survive a Mercury retrograde. Really any retrograde, but specifically this one. But before I get into that, I just want to say, if you've been enjoying the video so far, please consider hitting the subscribe button, turning on post notifications so that you get notified anytime that I post a new video, as well as liking this video so that it gets spread to more people who need this information. And if you do feel called, share it with a friend or drop me some diamond emojis in the comments. Okay, so tip number 1 on how to survive Mercury retrograde. Number 1, back up your data and storage now, like right now. So today is September 1st. We don't go retrograde until September 9th. So that gives us 8 days. We are in the pre-shadow period, so you may be seeing some funky things with your technology already. But the best thing is, like I said, to work with the energy instead of against it. So usually people see problems with their phone or their computer or their car during Mercury retrograde. And it's not that, oh, Mercury retrograde and said, bam, we want to punish you. Retrogrades are times for you to be reassessing what's already in front of you. So this means you probably already saw that transmission light or that oil light come on or the engine light come on and you just ignored it, or you pushed the button to reset it so that you wouldn't see the damn light. I've done that before. So, you just want to get ahead of things by making sure that your car is cool. Specifically check on your tires, and that's a personal message from my damn self because I've been worried about my tires for a couple weeks and I don't want to get got on this retrograde, so I'm gonna expedite that. The second thing, if you have any travel plans during this time, which I'm sure many people do, especially with summer coming to an end and you wanting to get that last little bit of fun out, make sure that you are checking and rechecking and triple checking the itinerary, any information you need. I know we're coming to the world's end of our acknowledgement of the virus. So a lot of places have eased their travel restrictions, so you don't really have to worry about, oh, do I need a test? Especially if you're traveling internationally, but you definitely want to make sure that you're double checking that, because the last possible thing that you want is to show up to the airport and you can't board your flight. I've done that before too. On a trip to Jamaica, I showed up to the airport and I thought that I just had to have the test, like proof that I took the test. Whole other story, but I didn't get to board the plane that morning. So there was that. Third tip, I want you to pay very close attention to any contracts you're signing. Now, a lot of other astrologers are going to tell you not to sign any new contracts during any Mercury retrograde. Why? Because Mercury rules communication and A lot of times, well, all the time actually, in order to conduct business, whether that's for your personal life or your professional life or for your small business, whatever, you need to be able to communicate with other people. And you communicate with other people through contracts. So I'm not going to tell you to not start any new contracts. I would say if you can, hold off on it. But I mean, being realistic, we're dealing with other humans and most people aren't really tapped into astrology like that. So you may not be able to hold off on starting any new contracts. But what I will advise you to do, if you are starting any new contracts, you definitely want to read everything. Read everything from top to bottom, side to side, forwards and backwards, flip it over, read it again. And if you are confused about something, don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask the question. Yeah, it may feel stupid in the moment, but you want to make sure that all the details, you are understanding them so that you don't have a slip up in the future where, you know, you did something that was not allowed in the contract or they did something that isn't permitted in the contract. You just want to make sure, okay? The fourth tip I have is to check in consistently with your throat chakras. So a lot of times you'll hear people say like, oh, my chakras aren't balanced, my chakras aren't aligned. And yes, that can happen where your chakras aren't aligned, right? The theory is that you want to have your chakras all aligned and flowing with that good chi energy, right? However, what we fail to talk about in this community is how our chakras can be misaligned. So your chakra can either be hyperactive, meaning that it's doing too much, or it can be hypoactive, meaning it ain't doing enough. So you want to make sure that your throat chakra specifically is, you want to make sure that your throat chakra is aligned and balanced during this time. Why? Because your throat chakra rules communication. Yes, we talk about the throat chakra with speaking our mind and speaking our truth, but it also refers to and is associated with how we communicate overall, which means how we receive and perceive information. So if your throat chakra is hyperactive and you're having a tough conversation with the partner, you may be perceiving things in a completely different way than what they intend. Now, of course, it's on each individual to communicate effectively, but sometimes, you know, emotions can get in the way. And so we just want to make sure that not only are we speaking clearly, that we're listening to understand instead of to refute or attack or, you know, any of those things that can muddle up communication. My fifth tip is to take lots of deep breaths and choose your words carefully. As I said before, Mercury rules Virgo. And if you have a Virgo in your life, you know that Virgos can be Virgos can have sharp tongues, right? So you want to make sure that you're not allowing your frustration or your rage or anger or whatever deeper, darker emotion that you're dealing with. You want to make sure that you're not allowing that emotion to harm other people. What do I mean by that? Okay, yes, you're frustrated, but do you have to cuss somebody out? Yes, you're frustrated, but do you have to cut someone off in traffic? Yes, you're frustrated, but do you have to throw a temper tantrum at work and storm away when your boss says something or a coworker asks you to do one little request? No, you don't have to do those things. You don't have to respond in an emotionally irregulated way. So yeah, just take some deep breaths and choose your words carefully. I want to give you 2 phrases to use when you think that you're having some difficulty with communication with another person. So if you're the one relaying the information after you've just gone through and you've said all of this stuff and you've just like word vomited on the person, I want you to ask them, okay, what did you hear me say? Ask them to repeat what it is that you were trying to convey to make sure that they fully have grasped the information that you just gave to them. Now, if you're on the receiving end of information, say someone just word vomited on you, I want you to ask them, okay, I want to make sure that I heard this correctly. So you're saying blah, 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 and then list everything that you remember the person saying. This allows the other person to have the opportunity to either clarify anything that, might have been misconstrued in the dissemination of said information, or it allows them to add anything that they might have missed, or give a point that they didn't talk through, the flesh out properly. It allows them to add nuance to that. And so that way you can make sure that you're both on the same page and there's no miscommunication. Now, of course, dealing with humans, there's always going to be the opportunity for miscommunication, but with those few phrases, however you want to say it, like you can say it in different ways. Obviously, you don't have to say those words verbatim, but whatever way that you want to clarify and make sure that both parties understand what is being said and what is being received, that will definitely clear up a lot of drama and bullshit. Okay, my sixth and final tip for surviving Mercury retrograde is to practice over communicating, not oversharing, which I think that kind of ties back into what I was saying about the throat chakra being hyper or hypoactive. You want to make sure that you are over communicating instead of under communicating, and over communicating instead of oversharing. So what does this mean? I know for me personally, sometimes I can get so caught up in my own little world, I forget to tell people around me, hey, I'm checking out for a couple days, or hey, I'm not really feeling it today, so I'm gonna lay low, but I'm okay. Now, of course, everyone doesn't get that explanation, but the people that are closest to you and care about you the most, you want to make sure that you are telling them what's going on with you, because they're not mind readers. They can't guess that, right? And especially with this planet being retrograde and it dealing with communication and technology and travel and all of that, like, you just want to make sure. You just want to make sure with an abundance of care. All right, so those are my tips. Let me know if you have any tips. If you agree or disagree with my tips, I'd love to know in the comments. But now I'm about to share some of the tea on the transits that I've noticed. Like I said, I tried to pull the charts for like every 4 to 5 days, just to see what's tea. So let's get into it. All right, moon babes. As you can see, I've got my laptop here so I can look at the charts. I do have notes because I jotted some things down really quickly. But so if you see me like constantly looking down, like that's what I'm doing. It really feels like when I'm filming, it feels like I'm sitting down and just like talking to a friend. Like sometimes I don't keep eye contact, and I'm learning that that's probably because of my neurodivergence, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, overall, the theme of this retrograde, I feel, is going to be in theory and in practice. So I'm saying that because Mercury will go retrograde first in the sign of Libra, and Libra is a planet Libra is a constellation that, and an energy that wants things to be completely balanced and equal. So if you're familiar with the glyphs of each of the zodiacs, the Libra glyph is the scales, right? And I'll try to put it on the screen so y'all can see what I'm talking about too, but it's the scale. So Libra energy wants any and all collaboration to go smoothly. It wants the planning process to reveal a plan that works in theory, but during the execution process, Libra energy also wants the plan to make sense in practice. I hope that makes sense. So basically, Libra energy just wants balance and harmony, and it wants things from start to finish to go smoothly. I think that wraps up things better. So we do see Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Libra, as I said before, but it's also happening in the 10th house. Now the 10th house, the ruler of the 10th house is Capricorn. Now Capricorn energy specifically is referring to your career, relationships with your father, your reputation, how you show up for work, that sort of thing. So how do I want to say this? You could see challenges in your relationship with your dad during this time. And if you aren't having challenges like with him directly, like you're not in conflict with him, this could mean like during your self-reflective time, like you're just seeing a lot of those wounds come up to the surface, and you probably are like, what the fuck, like I've dealt with this already, like I don't know why this is resurfacing, but here we are. And with Libra being an energy that wants relationships to be balanced and in harmony, I can foresee definitely some challenges in your relationship with your dad specifically. When it comes to your money, how you make money, your career, your business, that sort of thing, I am seeing that you could have trouble with any challenges. You could have challenges with any business partners, co-workers, your boss. There could be misconceptions or, just things that need to be cleared up there. And when it comes to reputation, I'm getting the sense of a lot of gossip and chatter could be about. I'm really thinking about Gemini energy, but Libra is also an air sign, which is ruled by Venus. And one of the negative qualities of Libra energy is that it can be very gossipy, a little messy, talking about what other people are doing instead of talking about what you individually are doing, that sort of thing. So you want to stay clear of that. Now, during the first week, I pulled the charts for the exact date of September 9th at 2:22 p.m. We do see Mercury in direct opposition with Jupiter, which is also in retrograde, in the 4th house in the sign of Aries. So what does this mean? I really wanted to keep this simple so that, if you're new to astrology, you can kind of pick it up a little bit, but also I just want to get the information out and let y'all know. So an opposition is when two planets are on opposite ends of the wheel from each other. So Mercury in Libra and Jupiter is in Aries, which means that there could be some challenges between those two energy bodies. So Jupiter being in retrograde, this could be looked at as like an unlucky time. And specifically with Jupiter being in the sign of Aries, how I'm looking at this and how I'm interpreting it is it could be an unlucky time because you could be too flippant in the mouth, and you could be righteously indignant. So Aries energy is ruled by the planet of Mars, which rules aggression and conflict and war, fighting, disagreements, how you assert yourself. So you'll definitely want to be on the lookout for how you're asserting yourself with others, especially those who live with you, if you live with other people. So the 4th house is ruled by Cancer energy, which loves making sure that everything in the home front is copacetic. So that's why I'm saying I foresee there being, some challenges when it comes to family feuds, family conflicts, and if you live with other people, there could be some issues there too. So you just, like I said, you just want to make sure that you're taking your deep breaths, and you want to make sure that there's clear communication happening. So if you hear something and it immediately pisses you off, I want to challenge you to, instead of immediately trying to rip off that other person's head with your words, I want to challenge you to take a deep breath, take a moment, and just calm the fuck out and ask them, so what you're saying is da 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 da. And don't say that in a way where it's like, so what you're saying is you don't give a fuck about my shit, and da da da, and then start you're adding fuel to the fire, is what I'm saying. Like, don't do that. Ask from a very genuine point of view, like, okay, when you said that, what I heard was, or okay, when you say stuff like that, it makes me think blah, 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 blah. And that leaves an open door of opportunity for the other person, again, to clarify and say, okay, no, I wasn't trying to hurt your feeling. All I'm saying is blah. And they can explain themselves. Okay, moving on to week 2. Week 2, we do see Mercury still in retrograde in the sign of Libra, trining Mars, which is in Gemini, in the 6th house. So I think that this would be a good week to talk to your boss, to talk to any coworkers, to talk to anyone that you've been thinking about collaborating with. This would be a wonderful time. Why? Because Mars, like I said, rules Aries energy, and as we know, Aries is impatient. Why? Aries is impatient because they want things to go quickly. It's a fire sign. It's fire energy. It wants things to blaze and move ahead. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you aren't moving so fast that you're tripping over your words or forgetting to say something super important. And I'm saying that this is a good time to talk to people that you want to collaborate with, or talk to your boss to like revisit any current career aspirations that you have for yourself, because with Mars being in Gemini in the 6th house, which is ruled by Virgo energy, this is how you show up at work, how you show up in your business, how you show up, period, to make your money. So with this being a trine, that means that there's going to be ease and flow. And I know you're probably like, okay, well, everywhere else is telling me, you know, this is not a good time to be trying anything new, or this is not a good time to be talking to people about certain things. And yeah, I mean, I definitely see why that would be the case, but I'm always going to try to empower people on my channel, and just anyone that I come in contact with, I want to empower you to make a good decision for yourself. I don't want to scare you into making a decision. So when I look at a trine, especially with Mercury being in retrograde, retrograde just means let's revisit, let's reassess, let's review. So this is definitely a time that you want to finish any old projects. If you, okay, for example, last year about this time, I told my boss, you know, when we go back into the office, I definitely want to do like a shadow program where I go to other teams and see what they're doing, and take best practices from other teams and bring it back to my team. I want to expand my horizons in that way. For those of you who don't know, my full-time day job is in finance. However, my degree is in communication studies. So a lot of times I have a imposter syndrome because of that, because I feel like everyone else around me went to school specifically for finance. And even though I'm extremely intelligent and I know that I'm wildly capable of doing anything that I want, a lot of times I do struggle with that. And so this time last year, I talked to her about it, and she was like, yeah, I definitely see you doing that. And while we haven't returned to the office yet, and with me moving to Texas, it's a little hard for me to be into the office, but something that we've recently done is she's allowed me to help partner with other teams, to help them with backlogs and squashing alerts and that kind of thing. So I get to do the work of another team and see how things are run over there without physically being there. And that's been a good compromise for me. So if you are having a similar situation where you're like, you know, I want to expand, I want to learn more, I want to further my career, this is a wonderful time to have that conversation with your boss. Week 3, we do see Mercury conjuncting the Sun, which again is going to be in Virgo. And it's conjunct in the 9th house. So this is another easy flowing time. Virgo is ruled by the planet of Mercury. So you could see some ease with how you're communicating. Now, I pause there because I want to remind you that yes, we're all under these transits. And yes, these transits do affect us here on Earth. I also want to empower you again to take radical responsibility for how you are speaking, how you're showing up. So just because there's a conjunction between Mercury and the Sun, that doesn't mean that things are just going to go easy for you. Like, you have to have some skin in the game. Like, you have to make sure that the way that you're showing up with others is going to be fruitful. So, you know, just because you're showing up doesn't mean that things go right. How you're showing up matters. The 4th week, we do see Mercury moving into Virgo. I'm going to be honest. I do not consider myself a expert on astrology. Yes, I've been looking at astrology for some time now. But when I look at this chart, I just immediately got overwhelmed, and I'm going to put a screenshot of the chart so you can see, like, okay, yeah, I see it. And I'm not trying to be lazy when I say this, but there's a lot going on in this chart. And so I just want you to be extra careful. So the 4th week of this retrograde, you could see heightened miscommunication, car problems. You could also see canceled travel plans. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just being honest. Like, this is what I see when I look at the charts. It looks a hot fucking mess. So you just want to make sure not to schedule anything like too crazy, anything that's going to require a lot of your energy, anything that's going to be draining. If you can at all, like, push that back. Push that to the following week. Clear your calendar. Give yourself some time to just take things slowly. That's the biggest thing. If you don't take away anything from this video, the biggest thing I want you to take away is to just move slowly. Retrogrades are a wonderful time to reassess and review things, but you just want to make sure that you're moving slowly so that you aren't moving so fast that you miss something. Now, the 5th and final week, we do see Mercury retrograde in the sign of Virgo, trining with Pluto retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. So what I've written down here is, don't try too hard with your partner. Things could cool off if they were hot with your partner before, meaning like if you've had any conflict lately, which, you know, we're in the middle of a retrograde. So you probably have seen that, but just know that this could be an easy, things could seem like they're just moving easier, that it's not as challenging. You may also notice how your relationship with your dad has impacted the current relationship that you have with this partner if they're masculine presenting. So that's what I see when I look at the charts. I hope that this video has been informative and it's helped you understand something new about astrology. If that's the case, do your girl a favor and hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. I've been at 99 subscribers for fucking ever. And I know I'm putting out good content. The quality is improving because I figured out how to work my phone. So good shit is coming. Be sure to share this with a friend. And until the next video, I'll see you. Ciao.